Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Sarah, and in today's video I will be showing you how to do some color changes. Now I have three different techniques for you today. The first one is what I like to call the fasten off color change, and this color change is for example, the nose of this pattern or the feet. And then I'll be showing you two techniques to color change in the round for spots and similar things like that. Now for today I will be using Cassidy the cow. So this pattern is currently only available in my shops as a written pattern. If you're interested in it, go ahead and check it out. This is not a full tutorial for this pattern. It is simply a technique video, if you will. I've taken the liberty of zooming in the camera for you guys so you can see a little bit better. The first technique we're going to start with is the fasten off color change, and the way you do this is pretty much exactly the way it says. You're going to fasten off. Now this is the end of the round, so I've finished all the rounds and I'm going to go ahead and fasten off. Now I do this by slip stitching, chaining one, and then cutting my yarn or fastening off. And you just need a short end. Just long enough so that you can tie a knot later. And then we're going to go ahead and pull it and collapse that chain in a little bit, and there is our fasten off. To rejoin the yarn for the cleanest look, what we're going to do is we're going to insert our hook. So here's our slip stitch. We're going to insert our hook into that single crochet stitch right next to the slip stitch. You're going to go ahead and yarn over with your secondary color, whatever yarn you're switching to, and pull it through that stitch on the body. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go right into that slip stitch and single crochet. And this will give you a really clean look. What we're going to do is follow the rest of the pattern. So go ahead and crochet all the way around whatever it is it's called to do. Once you get back all the way around, what we're going to do is we're actually going to single crochet, place our last single crochet of that round back into that stitch where we originally pulled up a loop. Because this loop right here is the top of our first single crochet. So we're going to have to place a single crochet into that last stitch where we pulled up a loop, and then we're going to go ahead and follow the next round as the pattern calls for. And at this point, once you've single crocheted over that loop, I like to tie the two ends together in the back. Don't pull them too tightly, but just tight enough that they're nice and secure. And there you have your very seamless transition. I have done it here for you guys on the nose, and you can see this is where we did the transition, and it looks very clean. Nothing sticking out in any weird way, and this is my favorite way to color change when doing any of these things, such as making the mushroom cap for the crochet popping mushroom and things like that, where you're going to be cutting your yarn anyway, so you might as well have a really nice and clean color change. So as I said, that is how you do the fasten off color change. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next two techniques, which are how to color change if you're creating spots, and similar to those where you're crocheting in the round. Normally at this point I would have stuffed the head and put the eyes in, but to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see the color work, I will be doing that a little bit later. Right now what I'm going to do is show you the first technique for color work, and this first technique is best for this type of yarn, for this Chanel yarn. Any type of yarn where the yarn can fall apart depending on what skein you're using. And then the second technique I'll show you is better for other types of yarn, but we'll get into that in a second. I am at the point now where I'm required to color change, but I'm actually one stitch before it. And what I mean by this is I have one more stitch to crochet before crocheting the next color. And what I'm going to do is start my single crochet. So you're going to insert your hook and you're going to pull up your loop, but you're not going to finish your single crochet. You're actually going to finish this single crochet with your secondary color. Go ahead and finish the single crochet just like that. And then single crochet in the next 5 stitches, or whatever your pattern calls for. And on that last stitch, we're going to switch back. So the way we switch back is by pulling up a loop, but not finishing it, and then finishing it with the secondary or the primary color. and then you would go around and finish this round. Now, depending on how far apart these color changes are, you might want to cut your yarn on the back here instead of just bringing it over. So leave a little bit of a length long enough to tie, and then cut it, and then bring your new end over. That will save you some yarn. I mean, you'll definitely have to tie some knots, which isn't the funnest thing in the world. That is how you do that color change. Now, if you are careful, you shouldn't be able to see the color change on the inside. As you can see, you can't see the gray inside these single crochets. But when you go to tie your knots, just make sure you don't pull too tight, because that's when you can start seeing the color changes. For example, on this one where you can see the black inside the white, that's because these knots are tied nice and tight, which is kind of a good thing and it's kind of a bad thing. So if you want to avoid that, you just want to be a little bit careful on how you tie your ends together. I personally don't mind this look, but I know that some people do. So that is this technique on here though. The second technique I'll show you is a little bit more clean, but it is harder to work with on this pattern. So let me go ahead and reset and show you that second technique. Here I am back at the end of my round, and this time I actually finished that last stitch instead of leaving it incomplete. What we're going to do is we're actually going to chain one. So use your secondary color, yarn over, and chain one with it. And then what you're going to do is follow your pattern. For me, it's to single crochet 5. And then you will have to pull your white end or your primary color and make sure that that chain closes all the way. Now, the reason I say that this is better for other yarn is because you have to pull the end pretty tight, because in the next round you're not going to be crocheting in this chain one. So you have to make sure it's tight enough that you're not going to be able to crochet into it later. This honestly works best with other yarn types. For example, you would be crocheting into this stitch, and then you would skip that chain one and skip right into the next stitch. Normally I would be able to pull this pretty tight, but because I'm using this yarn, it is pretty hard to close. It's also much easier to close after the second round when there's another round on top of it. You would do the same on this side, where you would take your yarn and chain one with it, and then follow your pattern. And then you would have to come back and tighten this chain. So on this side, it is my secondary color that I would have to tighten. And as you can see, this looks much cleaner than the other method. At least it's easier to make it look cleaner. I don't recommend it for this yarn type unless you can handle it. If your yarn is very sheddy, if it falls apart easily, then I wouldn't use it. But if the yarn you're using doesn't fall apart too easily, then I would just go ahead and use it. That is the second technique. I hope you enjoyed these little tips. I feel like with color changes, you can really just get away with a lot. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just have fun with it, honestly. I wouldn't worry about it too much. If the color change doesn't look perfect, then it's fine. It's a handmade plushie. It's not meant to look like it was mass manufactured. Honestly, this doesn't look half bad to me. I know that some people don't really love it, but it's just what happens with the crochet, especially when you're using completely different colors for this one, black and white. You're just gonna see it a lot easier. As I said, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would be more concerned with the seam being a seamless transition. That's just my opinion on the matter. But those are 3 techniques on how to color change. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have a different technique, let me know in the comments. I'm certain there are a ton more out there, and perhaps somebody might enjoy reading your techniques. If you learned something new in this tutorial, I'd love to hear about it too. Don't be afraid to leave your comments on your thoughts. I really appreciate you, and I just love reading what you guys say. So thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. And remember, Cassidy is in my pattern shops, and the links will be in the description for you if you're interested in crocheting this pattern. With all that said, I'm gonna let you go now. I really appreciate everything you guys have done for me recently, and I love you, and I'll see you later. Bye!